Hi, everybody. Welcome to the What's New and Coming in Higher Education session. We're so happy to have you here. We always do these breakouts of, what's new in higher ed, what's new in K-12, what's new in corporate and workplace learning right after the solution spotlight. And we like to have these sessions be a lot more conversational. So it's an opportunity for us to go into a little bit more depth in some of the things that you just saw in the solution spotlight. But it's also an opportunity for us to ask you questions like, have you started using any of these tools? What do you want to ask us about the future of these tools? How can we talk about where some of these trends are going? Because everything that you just saw is a snapshot in time. Now, in past times, in past fusions, when we've done a session like this, we've kept that conversational by having it in a very intimate, very small room where everybody's packed tightly together and it feels like a classroom. This feels more like a lecture hall. So I'm going to put this hard on all of you to make sure that it still feels conversational. Please don't sit there and pretend that you're in your freshman Chem 1 class and you're in the back of the lecture hall and you can take a little nap while the professor's up front doing the sage on the stage thing, because I'm not going to do the sage on the stage thing, neither of these people, so please talk to us. But we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves first. So my name is Jack Panett. Hello, everybody. I'm a product management director at D2L, and I work on, among other things, partnerships with technology partners and content partners and other folks that D2L works with. The pie chef.
I'm a senior product manager at D2L. I've been at D2L for 13 years. And right now I manage the product idea exchange. I also work with our Shield team. So all your incoming issues, which I'm sure there's none, but whenever those issues come in, I'm the one that's usually looking at them, trying to figure out how are we going to resolve it and what those priorities are. So if you want me to be your friend.
And hi,
Is it on?
Hello. Can't tell.
Talk toward this.
Hey everyone. My name is Carolyn. I'm the product manager here for rubrics and learning outcomes. Yeah, and we also have our product manager for quizzing, Sandra, if you would like to stand up. So,
Yay!
we'd like to bring a few into the room so that if you have any questions, we've got people here that are making those decisions to answer those questions. So hopefully that will be helpful to all of you. So we'll start off with our agenda. So we're going to hit some of those things that we did in the spotlight. That includes quick eval, annotations, some of the assignment improvements. So we didn't really go into a lot of those in the spotlight, but we will be mentioning them here so that you can get a good bird's eye view of everything that's been happening in there. Quizzing improvements that have been happening, rubric redesign. We'll talk a bit about the dashboard. We'll also overview Discover if you're interested, and we'll talk a bit about another cool learning path. We'll also talk about other notable things that have changed in the platform in the last year that we want to be sure that you know about, and then we will move into what is upcoming. So we'll look at the next sort of 1 to 4 months, basically, some of the things that we think are pretty notable that are coming out. So we'll start with Quick Eval. So who here has turned on Quick Eval?
Hey, that's a good number of people.
Not bad. It only released just, I think, in March it came out. Some of the key things about Quick Eval is that it can be accessed at the org level. So on that very first page that an instructor lands on, they can go into Quick Eval and it will pull all the gradable items from all of their courses and sections into one view for them. That will be filterable by assignment, which we'll see, by course. You can look at what's been submitted in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, 7 days. So you can ensure that you're always keeping
How many people in the room are academics who are responsible for giving scores or feedback to student work? Can we see a show of hands? All right, it's a decent percentage of the room. Okay, of the folks who raised their hands as having to do that kind of work, how many of you have loved the ability to do that in a technology product like Brightspace or another system every time you've done it and have never ever been annoyed at having to find all the stuff that students have done? Is it a wonderful, wonderful task for you to accomplish every time you have to go? I'm seeing some like, no, it's not always completely wonderful. Our goal with Quick Eval is really to take the time that academic folks spend doing plumbing work of figuring out things like, okay, there was a due date on this particular activity that students were meant to do, so now I have to determine how many people are past due, how many people weren't past due. For the people who are past due, what do I have to do with that information? How do I go find all of these things? These problems are exacerbated when you're teaching more than one course. So if you're not lucky enough to be the most senior tenure track person who only has to teach one graduate survey course and you have fobbed all of your grading and feedback off onto a TA, like, congrats to those lucky few, but the rest of us have to deal with finding the student work and processing all of that student work, and it can take a ton of time out of your day. And the thing that, as we've spoken to all folks like you and been in lots of design sessions with people and spent time talking to academics about the use of technology in their blended classrooms, especially in their online classrooms. If you're teaching a fully online course, this problem is even bigger. It's really disconcerting to think that what should be a meaningful connection with your students, an opportunity to review work that they have done as they are working on learning the material in your course and the things that you're trying to help them learn, instead of paying attention to how they're constructing learning that they're going to take forward in their lives in the future, you're thinking about, where did I put that other file? Is there something that a student turned in a whole like 2 days ago that I forgot to go check on and can't turn it back? So this entire project is around making sure that academic folks can have a meaningful, connected experience to students when they're doing feedback, as opposed to just being annoyed and having their time wasted. So hopefully that's an idea that resonates with all of you who are in that academic position and that you'd like to see some more of this. This is, yes, true? Is that so? Okay, I see nodding heads, that's good. Don't be afraid to also like clap or yell out boo or get off the stage or whatever is appropriate. Yes, question over here. Yeah, so the question is, will there be a red dot or some other kind of indicator inside of Quick Eval to let the academic folks know, oh, there's actually been a new addition to this particular piece of student work that needs evaluation and therefore we need to go back in. So the brief answer is yes, there will be. The mildly longer answer is that the team is working out and doing experiments around things like, what's the right mechanism to resurface things inside of this Quick Eval tool for the different types of activities you may be getting feedback on, right? So it's an interesting design issue, and that's one of the things that we're talking to people about. If you have an opportunity to visit the usability lab while you're here and want to give some thoughts about how you would like to see that work, folks would love to hear about it. But yeah, among the things that are going to be added to this view in the future, it includes stuff like this view is based on each student submission that's come in for any of the types of activities that can be scored. But you may also want to say, but I still want to see by each of the individual activities. So like allow me to toggle back and forth between those two views to help find stuff better. And that's one of the ways that you would find, oh, there's actually been an addition to this. We have another question right in front. Yeah, so the question is, hey, we have this great anonymous grading process that you can use inside of assignments, and also we have this great Quick Eval thing that you can use to find all the stuff that you need. How come my chocolate isn't mixed with my peanut butter yet? Like, shouldn't the anonymous assignments work inside of Quick Eval? So absolutely yes, that is absolutely coming. Do not worry about that. It's not quite ready yet in this release of Quick Eval, but it's definitely coming. We are going to do even more interesting and wacky stuff around anti-bias and other interesting workflows about it in the future, but the first one will be just bringing that anonymous marking right in. So that we have one here, and then I'll come to you, sir. So in the back.
Correct, so it's only the ones that have assessments and have to.
Ian up front. Yeah, so the question is, will we be able to allocate particular grading options to particular people? Like, so here is a set of submissions. We actually want to assign that to a specific grader or set of graders to have them processed, as opposed to having it flow back from a course. This is one of the areas that we're like the most excited about the research in. So like, I'm going to answer this so diplomatically, and you can come up and punch me in the teeth for being so diplomatic after that. But yes, this is where we want to do all of that kind of work. One of the most exciting things for us about putting things together in Quick Eval is it's the first step toward breaking the sort of hard connection between those grading workflows and the course offering that you're in, right? The past situation was always that you had to go into a course offering, which means that you had to be assigned as a teacher or TA or whatever in that course offering, and then find that activity, and then find the student work, and then do it. We absolutely know that in places like Huddersfield, and places all across the UK, in fact, and some other parts of Europe, as well as increasingly other parts of the world as well, that it's drastically important to be able to do for anti-bias marking workflows and so on, to be able to say, well, we're going to have somebody marking up this student work who is potentially anonymous both to the student and to the instructor of the course, and other workflows that are interesting like that, that allow for that anti-bias. We have reason to believe that we're trying to remove bias from the system. Yeah, let's do.
Okay. So I did want to correct myself. It was released in May. What was released in March was annotations. So annotations was something that we were very excited to release. It closed a lot of IIMs, which I'm particularly interested in. I think it's pretty self-obvious. It's got great features. You can highlight. They recently introduced an eraser, so you can actually erase your markup if you're not excited about it. You have your comment annotations. They've also introduced as part of that a notification when feedback is released, so that learners can go in and view their feedback. There's already release conditions associated to feedback as well. And the great thing about the comment annotations is that if the user downloads the document, it's all going to be there in footnotes. So really a great student experience as well. They can see it on their phone, they can download it, take a copy of it with them if they want to. Is there any questions about annotations? No?
I don't see any, but I'm just going to mention my favorite thing about that is that being able to download and take it with you, because it's awesome to be able to put a little note on top of the document, right? But the fun detail about that is if the student decides they need to take that marked up document with them, it will actually compile all of those notes so that they actually show up down below as well. So they get a marker for that note, and then it's in there as like a kind of a footnote.
Yeah, and
it's really nice.
So it can be used in any sort of Dropbox or submission in order to do so that that's summative or formative feedback.
That's a question.
Yeah.
What teachers like in my way is that the processing for standard comments.
Like a grading library of comments. I know that's something that Dana has seen as a popular suggestion. I don't know right now where that is on her roadmap though.
It's in research.
Yeah, question.
You're talking about for the notes that are being placed on the document, so it's more like. So that's definitely something that the team would like to hear more about how you use that specifically. So I would encourage you to go straight into that UX research lab while you're here at Fusion and make sure that they've heard you. Thanks.
Let's move on. So as part of the quick eval and annotations, there's actually a lot of work that we've done in assignments behind the scenes to make that grading workflow really seamless. Some of this was done as a result of the quick eval work, and some of it was done in addition to the quick eval work. So there's been general improvements to the student list view. When students enter into assignments, that view is much more clear, the language is more standard. We're doing a lot of work around consistency of language across the platform. We did introduce the blind grading feature, so that can be set for an assignment, although it needs to start working with quick eval. There's a new set of permissions around managed delivery, and that is to enable a facilitator-like role. So somebody who does not have control over the editing of settings within the assignment, but needs to do things like deliver dates, change the dates, add special access. So that's the facilitator managed delivery permission. There's also been the ability to change from an individual to a group assignment. So if you made a mistake, you can, nobody submitted to it yet, you can make that change to a different kind of assignment. And then new assignment types that I alluded to in the presentation. There's the in-person observation and the paper submission. So there's some sort of physical submission that's going to be happening that you want to be able to account for. The in-person observation is really interesting. When you set the due date, as soon as that due date is hit, it will populate into your quick eval. So you won't have to kind of try to figure out how do we know when that's done. Using that due date will allow it to show up. We've also implemented edit categories, which was a feature where you couldn't delete categories before, so now you can. And the ability to publish feedback all at once. And that syncing of when you create your feedback, that you don't have to go and release it. It does go directly to the gradebook. Those are all things that came out with assignments at the same time. Are there any questions about that? Great. So we did highlight some of the quizzing features. As you know, that was also a highlight from last Fusion. So we are doing some continuous work on quizzing.
I'm super excited about this one. The first time I pulled up a quiz on my phone and didn't have to have any left to right swipies in order to get to everything in the quiz, I was such a happy boy.
Yeah. We've done improvements to both the instructor and the student experience. So trying to balance that out. Primary focus is getting through that instructor experience, but some valuable improvements have been made on the student experience around auto-saving answers so that they can do that long answer and make sure that it's saved. We don't have to shuffle them from page to page or prompt them in a different way to save. Some changes to the overall UX around the student experience has also happened. There is the ability to add initial text in long answers, which is one of the things that people were looking for. And then what we highlighted, which was the new question management experience. So you can drag and drop zip or CSV files to create new questions in the question library drawer import area. There's the filtering that's happening in the question library drawer. And that new just landing page so that instructors can hopefully get in there really fast and know exactly what to do first. So really creating that easy experience. Just to highlight, I thought I had the roadmap slide, but there's just continuous improvements every month. So every month that you look into the roadmap and what's coming next, you're going to definitely be seeing quizzing improvements. Are there any questions about quizzing? We have our quizzing product manager right here. So if you have any questions, please. Yeah.
Back in the bag. Where'd Carolyn?
question is that when you create a question in your quiz, it should automatically go into the question library at that point instead of having to do a copy or some sort of manual process. Is that the...
What happened to our... We had a microphone, I don't know where it went.
I know, Carolyn, are you here with the mic anywhere? Carolyn disappeared? Oh, Sandra, do you have an answer for that? It's not on our immediate roadmap, but it's left to talk about. Okay, so it's not on the immediate roadmap handling that particular area. They're sort of focusing on different areas right now, but she'd love to talk to you more. So Sandra can be found in the accessibility lab if you're looking to talk more about the quizzing experience. And she's wearing a moose shirt. Any other questions about quizzing? Yeah, in the back. So the questions around printing quizzes, which I am aware is one of our top high items. Sandra? Okay.
Did the mic work okay? Were you able to hear that?
Did you hear that in the back? You did? Okay, great. Yep, in the front here.
I just had a comment on that. There is a workaround on printing quizzes. You can use the preview, and you can, in Safari or Firefox, right-click on the area of the question, this frame, print frame, and that will give you a printed quiz.
All right.
Awesome.
Doing product development for us. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, right here. Yep. Import questions from a Word document. Okay, also frequent requests, and one, I think Sandra's got a list of about 15 high priority items, and that's one of those, right? Yeah.
That's also on the active design work on.
So it's one that they've started active design work on and are in research for how to make that a reality. In the back?
I was going to say that there are some third-party tools that you can import within the Word document. Respondents, it's set to go. So, for one item.
All right, last question.
Is there any work where you can have any ability to bulk edit questions?
Bulk edit questions.
So it depends what kind of bulk edit features you're looking for. If you're looking to be able to bulk set points or something to mandatory or bonus, you'll be able to do that by the end of the year. If you're looking to bulk edit style of the text of the questions using the H2 editor, which is frequently asked, that's not currently on our roadmap.
Okay, we'll move on to rubrics. So who's using the new rubric grading experience? All right, great, that's exciting. There that has been, it's very interesting. It touches many different points in the platform. So I don't envy Carolyn her job. But the main thing was definitely to be able to have that drag and drop ability, really bring that product up into the modern day, make it a lot more easy, simple for people to add text, change values, and have that more deeply embedded within the platform. And I know that roadmap still has some features on it. So are there any questions related to the rubric experience and where we're going with that? Carolyn's here, so.
I have a question for all of you, and then we'll get yours. How many people were surprised to hear that there was autosave in the rubrics? Anybody? I know I was surprised by that. So the autosave in the rubrics area and in the student quiz taking area is one of my favorite things, because it would be so cool to never get asked by somebody again, why did my work disappear? when I walked behind the building on my phone. I'm sorry, there's a question coming up over here.
Any way on the rubric to make the print darker?
So there's a question about making the print darker.
So there has been some so in the newest release, there's some WCAG changes that has darkened the text. Sandra, do you have anything more to add to that? The text in the...
Yeah. Sorry, I was focused on trying not to punch the microphone. What were you saying, Sandra?
Yeah, both the text and the border styles are definitely.
In the July release, both the text and the border styles are darkened.
So you'll have to check that out and see.
So it's this month's release. Depending on your institution, some of you may already have the July release on your production side, and some of you may not. Some people will get it the last week of July. It's something to do with how your institution takes the monthly update. So I would strongly encourage, if you haven't looked at it like today, and you look at it next week and it's still not darkened, then let us know.
So in the July release, all of our standard font colors darken to a darker gray. It'll align with the WCAG level AAA font requirements instead of level AA. And then all of our components have darker hover and focus and sort of default styles. And that's to align with the new WCAG 2.1 standards, which were passed into law last year. And we're doing passed into recommendation from WCC. And they're being passed into law in the European Union, not yet adopted in the US or Canada, but we're proactively adopting the 2.1 standards. So you'll see a lot of work over the next few months to align with those 2.1 standards. And in the July release, it'll be the state of our non-text components, so things like buttons, links, controls, having more contrast with the background.
All right, we're going to move on because we got a lot to cover. So next up, we're just going to highlight the dashboards that came up. So our new adoption, engagement, and assessment quality dashboards.
I'm totally new to D2L, so I haven't even looked at it yet. We just signed the contract, but I'm curious about the functionality of the adoption portal. Obviously, it shows what tools students are using. How about, can the administration see what tools faculty are using?
I'm from a large institution, and we're finding those dashboards aren't filtered enough for instructors to see only their courses. And so far, only the D2L admins are able to really use it. We haven't released it to be usable per other roles.
not sure that it actually goes into roll. Okay. No, I don't think it goes into roll for the usage trends. So it doesn't go into roll for the usage trends yet. So it's showing global usage.
Yeah, so sorry, holy moly. The question earlier about whether that adoption dashboard shows a difference between student uses of those tools versus instructor uses of those tools. It looks like currently it's not breaking them out into two separate. It's just showing all of the usage of that tool for the set of courses. So if that is a thing that you would like to see, it's another great opportunity to get into the lab today and talk to some folks about it.
All right. Short for time. So next up is Discover. So Discover is a tool that really we're in our first slice, which means we're in our first phase of development for Discover. Currently allows you to search for courses using keywords. The way that those courses show up allow you to add some great graphics and information around them. Basically, there's a couple of more phases of development that are coming out, so I definitely recommend that you keep following it in the release notes, and it is currently available, so you can turn it on.
That's right, it is currently available. Do we have anybody here who's actually started using or playing with Discover or exploring it? A little bit, okay, so that's good. We are at a stage where we would love for you to go take a look at it, and if any of you have use cases in your institutions where there's a certain amount of user choice in what piece of learning to go get into, whether that is students who have pathway choice as part of their learning process, or whether it's some really important secondary use cases like teacher PD and things of that nature, or staff professional development and training and so on. We would love for you to give this Discover tool a try. We think both in the cases of relatively traditional staff and teacher training where they have some opportunity to choose for themselves when they want to jump into a learning opportunity, but also increasingly in programs that experiment with user choice or students choosing their own pathways through their degree programs or their competency-based programs or things of that nature, that the Discover tool is going to be really interesting. So we would love for you to try it out and tell us what you think.
Yeah. Oh, sorry? Course catalog? Not at the moment. It won't replace that external view of courses.
Are there any future plans?
I'm not exactly sure what the future plans are to align the two together. I do want to, sorry, we're super low on time right now, so this ends at, does this end at 11? 10:50, 1 minute or 10 minutes? Anybody know? 11, okay. All right, I'll just have to move on and then you'll have to find us later if you have some more questions.
We'll be here.
We will be here.
We'll stay right here.
So learning paths is another area that is bumping off of Discover. We didn't get to it in the showcase, but it is the idea of being able to connect courses together and be able to determine or to show to a user how many hours it will take to complete that. So you can create these micro-learning, so learning bites maybe that are connected together so a person can see when they have time, how can they move forward and upskill themselves through a defined set of learning. They're not just finding random courses using keywords, they can see how these things are linked together in a defined path. So that's sort of where this is all going to be dovetailing together. Video assignments, auto analysis, everybody kind of got a big clap out there. It is really interesting technology. So who here uses video assignments right now at their institution?
Oh, a good number of people.
Yeah.
Nice show of hands.
Yeah, pretty great.
Super cool. We're excited about this because it is there is so much talk. If any of you all pay attention to like ed tech news, you see so many people talking about like AI. It's going to come change everything about education, which I can't help but every time I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, robot tutor in the sky again. Like we haven't heard that before. But this is the kind of thing that I feel really good about as an example of using some artificial intelligence, machine learning type algorithms in the background in ways that just help people. So students can get this analysis back as they're doing their practice. If they're in a video assignment where they have to record themselves going through a practice activity, it's going to go back to their peers for review, it's going to go back to their instructor for review. The tooling here is going to help them in very small but very interesting ways to do things like, oh, I didn't realize that I said like every 4 words when I was recording that because I was nervous. So maybe I'm going to take a breath and take a drink of water and pause and record that again.
Yeah. Some of the interesting bits about this is the score can be hidden by the evaluator, so then the student just gets that detail about clarity and filler and rate without an actual score being up there, so that can help with as they're working through their presentation styles. The highlighted words are indicating the fillers, and the underlined words are indicating that it was unclear. So that can help if you're mumbling or slurring your words like I do sometimes.
Oh, premium. So sorry. There is a version of all of these video tools. So that's the virtual classroom tools as well as the video assignment tools that are absolutely everybody has access to. And there's a version where you do have to, or your institution does have to pay for the extra level of service. So that's the premium version. Oh, that was a question about different languages. The auto analysis. I believe it is starting with English and then is going to roll out to other language support in the near future. So this is just the very, very first version that just became available literally like a week and a half ago, something like that, but we will get there. I think we're gonna need to roll on.
Yeah. So here's some of the other important improvements that have already been released. There was quite a few changes to quick links. So being able to build additional quick links to some important areas, some improved error messages. So if you were to follow a quick link to something that you don't have access to, it doesn't just give you a fun like author, forbidden access or something like that. So it says a nicer message. We changed some small things in surveys, particularly around the submission buttons, which was a big one for students, changing the focus there. Added the ability to have class progress default settings that you can set at your institution. There's the new Ally integration, which is for accessibility, which you can go see the Ally booth in our exhibit hall. Intelligent agents also had some improvements. One of the most recent one is the ability to reevaluate every time the intelligent agent runs, which really kind of changes the intelligent agent, where before it memorized people who had already released a condition. Now it understands that somebody could now no longer release that condition, so it'll reevaluate every time it runs. And then there's been lots of changes for awards, including some new awards, leaderboards and learner widgets that you can use to surface awards to students. All right. So there's a little bit more. In data sets, we have some new data sets around checklists and awards. So you can see we're focusing on awards in the last year. Data purge, for those of you that are interested in purging, you can now purge user-contributed files. So those are the Dropbox submissions, things like that. When you're purging a course, that data will also go with it. There was also the launch of LTI Advantage. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can definitely head out to our extensibility lab. And then there's been a lot of work in API. We have a team that's directly working in APIs right now. So they're heavily active in the product idea exchange. If you want to go in there and there's something missing, they can take a look and hopefully do it for you. So we're going to move into what's next. What our time is here. So I wanted to highlight the highlights that are coming up next. So for Quick Eval, it's going to be a group view of unevaluated submissions by activity. So instead of having sort of right now, it's that one at a time, you can actually group them so you'll see all of the activities together in one page. For rubrics, the ability to share rubrics down from the organization to org units will be done. Quizzing, reordering of questions, in the quiz building experience. And quiz attempt logging actually came out this month, I believe. But now there will be an attempt restore. So if you delete an attempt, you'll have the ability to restore that attempt again. And then discover, self-unenroll, which is something that we haven't had the ability to do in any of our previous tools. So that'll be a big accomplishment. And then a recommendation engine to be able to recommend based on other enrollments that student has been enrolled in. For dashboards, there is a new outcomes alignment dashboard. This is working with our competencies tool currently. So if you're using competencies, this is going to be the new dashboard that's going to be rolling out. The goal is to understand how competencies are set up across your organization to identify gaps such as no learning activity aligned to a competency and to show evidence of achievement. You can compare it by program or cohort or course. Here's another view. So that will be coming out with the Performance Plus dashboard. Game-based learning has also gotten a huge refresh. So there's going to be a refreshed user interface, tighter integration with Brightspace so you don't have to do that publishing back and forth. Does anybody here use game-based learning at all? You should go check it out. You can also add existing quizzes and assignments. So previously you had to create them in game-based learning. Now you can just choose your content that's already been created and pull it into the game. Portfolio. So Portfolio, which is our new portfolio product that we're working on, has had some updates that is starting to move it from the original K-12 focus into the higher ed focus. Some of those are trying to, we're right now discussing and looking at what are the top requirements for higher ed. And that includes assessing portfolio evidence against rubrics, being able to save assignment submissions and feedback into your portfolio. We've already released recently the alignment of outcomes to artifacts that are in your portfolio, and being able to curate and organize evidence beyond the course. So it's not just course material that's in there, but you can bring in other material, create your own keywords, and be able to organize that. So if you haven't seen Portfolio and where we are now, definitely recommend it. It's available with your core product, and they'll be happy to demonstrate it out there. Some other notable upcoming. So we've got some new release conditions that are coming. The idea around content completion has really been deeply thought about by one of our teams, and they're working to make that topic and understanding much more consistent across the environment. In class progress, we're looking at the ability to hide class or user progress domains globally. So some of these domains are things that might not be important to the end user, so we're going to be able to hide those. Making user progress available past the course end date and for withdrawn users. That's mine. And then also, I would like to surface that to students as well. So once they have finished their course, they can go into their user progress and see their user progress for their past courses. Grading, coming out soon, will be the select box assignment grading. So this means if you have an assignment, instead of having to type in a number, you can just select A, B, C, and it will go straight to the grade book. So a lot of institutions, that makes more sense in their workflow, so we're going to enable that to happen. There's going to be some small improvements to grade schemes. I'm doing some work in there. Data purge, there will be some new data purge sets that will be coming out. And that's partially because we are working on our course reset button, which is our #1 pie item. And we're going to be basically allowing you to purge your course. So that'll be exciting. I have no idea how we'll demo that, but maybe it'll come up on main stage next year. And then we have some new data sets that are coming out. And that's it.
All right.
All right.
Well done, Jeanette. Thank you for taking us through all of that.
All right.
We smacked right on to 11, and I know that we didn't cover all the questions that y'all had, so if anybody needs to stick around to ask your burning question, come find us up here. We'll stick around for a bit, but thank you so much for coming in today.